We are so honored today to have with us Bob Gale. Wow. So this is, again, I said before, it's mind-blowing when we think about how many times we watched Back to the Future throughout our lives, and here we are making history. The show will make history, and we're making history at the press launch and the launch of the musical, Back to the Future. Did you ever dream of one day turning it all into a musical?
We had a hard enough time getting the movie off the ground as a movie. Wow. The idea, people say, well, you must have known there were going to be more than one movie. No, the script for Back to the Future was rejected over 40 times. Over 40 times. So the idea of putting your mind to it, focusing, persevering, that's not only the story of the movie, it's the story behind the movie.
So how did it all come to pass? Where did you get the idea of Back to the Future from?
The idea from Back to the Future came to me in the summer of 1980. I was visiting my parents in the town that I grew up in, a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri, and I stumbled upon my father's high school yearbook in the basement. I'd never seen it before. I attended the same high school that my dad did, and I'm thumbing through it. Wow, what did my dad look like in 1940? He was the president of his graduating class. My God, I had no idea. And I thought about the president of my graduating class. Now, I was on the student committee to abolish student government. So I knew that I would have never, I never would have had anything to do with this president of my class. So I wondered, was that the kind of guy that my dad was? Was he one of these rah-rah school spirit, soci guys that I couldn't stand? What would I have been friends with my dad in high school? And then the proverbial bolt of lightning hit me. That is a movie. What if a kid could go back in time and be in high school with his own father? And here we are.
Back to the Future was born, everybody, which is incredible. Now, why did you then want to, I mean, you spent years and years working with Back to the Future, and then now turning it into a musical, which I guess has taken a long time as well. Why did you want to turn it into a musical?
Well, lots of people have been saying, hey, is there ever going to be a Back to the Future Part 4? No.
Oh.
Let's get that out of the way right now. No Back to the Future Part 4. No Back to the Future reboot. Instead, we're doing this. This is a way to revisit Back to the Future in a completely different medium. It's the story of the first movie, adapted to take advantage of what theater does so well. So people can get more Back to the Future, but we're not going to screw up your childhood by messing with the franchise. The trilogy is great the way it is. At the rate Hollywood is going, it may be the only trilogy left before too long. So that's it. We just said, you know what? People want more Back to the Future. There's been a lot of successful shows based on movies. This is a perfect idea because our main character is an aspiring musician. There's a good reason for him to sing. Mm-hmm. Here we are.
And how does creating a musical differ to creating a movie?
Well, you need to look at the tools that you have. When you're thinking about cinema, your universe is pretty big. When you're thinking about the stage, it's not quite so big. And you have to say to yourself, okay, what does the stage do well? What does it not do well? Car chases, skateboard chases, not so much on the stage. But singing and dancing, oh yeah. So some of the iconic scenes that you love from the movie aren't going to be in the show. Instead, we're giving you numbers like what you just heard that will get you really excited. The musical is not a slavish adaptation of the movie. If you want to see the movie, you can see the movie. It's a reinterpretation of it, and I'm here keeping my fingers in the pie to make sure that all Back to the Future fans will rest easy knowing that we're not screwing this thing up.
Phew. And finally, Bob, what's been the most exciting part for you? Because I think it's your first foray into theatre, isn't it, really?
Yes, this is, if we ignore the high school plays and musicals that I was involved in.
So what's been the most exciting part of
To
putting this
me,
together
what's
for you?
been really exciting about this is our extraordinarily talented cast. We're all young people, who grew up watching Back to the Future. So the idea that here's a cast, they weren't born when we made Back to the Future. Their experience of Back to the Future is a little bit different than everybody else's, than it was for us when we made it. And yet here they are, they're interpreting these characters, they're bringing their own energy and their own excitement. And to me, it's thrilling to know that these characters that Bob Zemeckis and I created have this life that goes beyond the movies and will live on in theater.
And live on in the space-time
And
continuum.
live on the space-time continuum. And
Can you explain that for us? Because
Well-
I'm still none the wiser.
there are certain types of mysteries of the space-time continuum. And there's also a theory that says that if indeed the universe is infinite, anything that can happen will happen. And one of those anythings that could possibly happen is happening right now, because I am pleased to introduce, through the amazement of the space-time continuum, Christopher Lloyd.
Wow. Great Scott.
Wow.
Extraordinary. I feel I'm at a very momentous occasion, and I kind of love it. I get a lot of questions from people come up and say, did you have any idea when you were shooting this thing that it would have a future the way it's had? And I sure didn't. I mean, we all hoped, we knew we had a great film, great script, great cast, and all of that, but we just hoped have a great opening and a great run. But it just don't stop running, you know. It's amazing to be a part of something, a film that's meant so much to so many people who have chosen careers, you know, surgeons, physicists, architects, etc., constantly come up and say how it changed their lives. And so I'm very grateful to have been a part of this. And I wanted to say to Roger, wherever he may be,
He'll be out soon.
Oh.
He's coming back out.
that, what are you going to say? Way down the road, way down the road, when somebody comes and says, did you ever think when you were back in Manchester that you'd be doing what you're still doing now? Anyway, I'm really excited about this.
I mean, Chris, when you see the guys bringing to life the musical of Back to the Future, how does that make you feel?
The musical?
Now it's being turned from a film, a much-loved franchise, into
Now I
into a
can
musical.
see myself sing and dance. So, yeah, when I first, I don't know what to say. When I first heard about it, I thought, wow, this is a whole new concept. And from what I've heard the last few minutes, it's going to sing It's going to do good. And it's just very exciting. It's amazing to see that there's something keep going and going and going as long as this has. So.
And what's your overriding memory of the film then? Let's talk about that, because I mentioned before, you probably hate me for pointing this out, but 34 years ago the original film came out, and your overriding memory of the film, the original film, for you?
Well, I don't know. I guess I was kind of felt fortunate to be there because I almost blew it.
What do you
Before we
mean?
ever got started, huh?
What do you mean you almost blew it?
Well, I almost didn't agree to do it. Not for any other reason than I wanted to go back to New York. I've been in LA for a while, and initially, and I was uncertain that I belonged there. I was working rather consistently in the theater in New York, and I thought I got to get my tush back to New York. So my agent sent me the script. I happened to be working on something in Mexico City, and I looked at it and decided, no, I'm going to New York. But I got a little more reasonable, and I went back to LA and met Bob Zemeckis, and that was it.
And now, 34 years later, here you are in Manchester. So it all works out.
Yeah.
One more time for Christopher Lloyd.
Great.
He's going to stay with us. He's not going anywhere. Stay there, Christopher. Stay with us. Stay with us. His DeLorean's parked out the back. It's fine. We've paid. We put money in the meter. It's fine. Let's also welcome back onto the stage the rest of our guests. Colin Ingram, the producer. Roger Bart, who's playing the Doc. And also Olly Dobson, who's the new Marty McFly. Wow. Wait till you get home later or get out of here on your phone, straight on your social media. Let me start off with Roger and Olly, first of all. What makes this story so beloved by audiences? We all love it so much, don't we? We really do. What makes it so beloved?
It's batshit mad, isn't it? It's madness, isn't it? It's a crazy show. I think the essence of your mum wanting to be in love with you is, I mean, that's a great story to go on, isn't it? That's enough, right?
I don't know. Bob, you wrote it. What about you, Roger?
The amazing thing about this is I feel like the movie, it continues with all of the new generations that watch it to capture our imaginations. The idea of being able to travel through time and to go into the past and the future and meet your parents. And there's something about the idea also that in a moment your whole life can change. It can change the total direction of your life. And it also, it's the idea that for all the dreamers out there, that if you put your mind to it, that there's limitless possibilities. I think that between all of the magic of that and underpinning it is this core family and this crazy idea of meeting your dad as when he is your age and recognizing him not as a parent for the first time, but as a fellow teenager with the same struggles that humanizes parents. So that's why I've watched it with my daughter many times, and it's always so fun to watch because I look at her thinking, for just a second, she goes, oh yeah, you actually had to go to high school too. You weren't always just making French toast. You know what I mean? So I think it does all of those things so successfully, and for every dreamer out there, it offers infinite possibilities of things actually coming to reality.
And what about your character that you're playing, Doc? I mean, how much do you love that character, and what's your favorite thing about it?
Oh, it's such an extraordinary character. First of all, to have the launch pad, which is Christopher Lloyd's performance as a start, it's amazing. But that Doc is is a dreamer. He believes in the power of positive thinking. He's a loyal friend. The part also is a great example of mentorism, which is something that, a few bad stories over the years in our press, and suddenly everyone, people have asked me, oh, isn't that weird? Why is the kid hanging out with this old guy in the neighborhood who everybody thinks is crazy? Because Marty recognizes himself in him. They're rock and rollers. They're living on the margins. They're, right? And so it's so great to see a friendship that is this unusual, and I wish there were more of it. So
we feel that we know Doc already from the films, but I guess the musical helps develop the character even more.
it does. As I was saying before, in a perfect world, musicals take big emotions and they give them the opportunity to be able to speak of very large, big-hearted feelings. And we have a couple of moments in the show that are that through song we can express them in a way that you just can't except by in other words, that the movie lends itself so well to this world, and you'll see, it's pretty fab.
I just wondered, Olly, if you could elaborate more on that, the whole relationship between Marty and Doc, and bringing that to life in a musical.
Yeah, the crux of the relationship that Marty doesn't have with his dad is something that I think he sees in Doc. It's a connection that he doesn't have emotionally with anyone else. And he's like a father figure to him. And plus, like what you were saying about being a rock and roller, he's a cool dude in the fact that he is totally being himself. And he's so thrilled to be doing that. And he has so much ambition. And in the McFly family household, there is none. None at all. And I think it's refreshing for Marty, even though they are two different sides of, wanting to be a rock star and wanting to be a scientist. I see so much ambition. Marty sees so much ambition in him that he's the only dude that he actually wants to be with.
And now that you've heard the experts expound on this, maybe Christopher Lloyd
Absolutely.
can chime in on that very question.
Ha Well, it's really kind of revelatory because I just feel you nail it. That's the feelings that you have about Doc and the relationship. It's an extraordinary thing. I don't want to get mushy, but I mean, it's like essential friendship, love, and the caring, and all that. And so I love it.
And have you got any words of advice for Roger playing the Doc?
Just be ready to answer those questions when it comes up right down the road.
Bob, let me come to you as well. Bring you back in, Bob Gale. Can you define the sort of most important traits of Marty McFly? I mean, was Marty based on yourself?
Well, there's a little bit of both myself and Bob Zemeckis in all of these characters. Marty's a bit of a rebel. He's a little bit of a troublemaker. He wants to do things his own way. He's got his own ideas about stuff. And he's infinitely curious about everything, which is one of the things that attracts him to Doc Brown. And he's a damn good rock and roller, too.
Why do you think the film has endured all these years, and why it was taken to the hearts of so many?
There are a couple of things. First of all, the whole idea, when all of us, no matter what culture you're in, when you're about 8 or 9 years old, you finally understand the concept, my parents were once children. That's huge. That is a huge revelation that every kid has at some point. Then when you get a little bit older, there's another thing that you start thinking about, which is, what did my parents do on their first date? What were the actual circumstances of me getting here? Sometimes you don't want to ask too many of those questions, but we all think about it. So the story of Back to the Future taps into all that. And then as everybody up here has said, the idea that you have some control over your own destiny. Your future is not written. You can make decisions that affect your life, and the movie shows us the George McFly life that he has when he doesn't stand up to Biff versus the one that he does when he learns to stand up to Biff. And that's, I think, a very important lesson. It's something that we kind of all instinctively know, that we have some control over our lives, but to have it presented in this way, it's very comforting and it's very inspiring.
Colin, the slogan of the show is this show will change history. Do you think it will? And Chris, if you could loan him the microphone, stop hogging it.
It already has.
He knows.
I feel.
He's been in his
I mean,
DeLorean.
it's been such a predominant.
He's been to the future and seen it already.
Yeah, it's all there. I mean, it'll just go on in the same vein.
Well, that's the doc speaking. Colin, what do you think? Do you agree?
I'm just thrilled. I'm sitting next to somebody. I watched Taxi and I watched Back to the Future. It's a complete pinch me moment. This is incredible.
For all of us in the room, right?
I mean, I think everybody would agree. It's just such a thrill. Well, I think what we're going to do on stage won't have been done in a musical before. I mean, literally, this musical will change history. We've been working very hard on the technology just gets better, as you know me from, doing Ghost, where we used a lot of technology during that show. But everything is just, in terms of videos and projectors and what you can do. And of course, we want to keep the reality of the scenery as well, and where it's not all special effects, as I said, it's the story and the characters that make it. But yeah, I really do think, I genuinely think right now, that people will see something they've never ever seen before, and it will feel incredibly immersive. And I think it will. The thing you really want in a musical, with all due respect to everybody on the stage, is you want the musical to be better than the film. I mean, that's maybe not achievable, but there could be parts of it that are so emotional and so incredible because this is live theater and because it has a really raw connection as an art form. Live always is going to be here. What doesn't matter as Netflix and everybody is watching, cinema is dying because everybody's watching television at home, and the music industry is very difficult now. But live entertainment is just getting better and better because we're all so detached from each other. And that's what theater does. It gets us all in one room and we're all enjoying theater together. We're all laughing together. We're all going through this journey together. And there's something incredibly powerful about that, which I think film can't do. So I may be overselling my musical, but I don't think I am. But I mean, that's ultimately what we want to do. So that's why I think this musical will change history in some way.
Ollie, what about Marty McFly, such an iconic cinematic character? Yeah. It was mentioned before about some of the cast not being even born when the first film came out. I mean, you've watched it presumably a few times.
Yeah, I wasn't born when it came out.
Right, okay, fine.
It's, my dad introduced me to the film. It's his favorite film. It turned into our family's favorite film. So for me, being here, what Colin just said is like, this is insane.
Yes.
This is mad. Yeah, but to be able to play someone like Marty McFly is an absolute dream come true. And he's so likable, like what Bob was saying about being a rebel. Everyone wants to be a rebel, and he's a cool dude, and everyone wants to be the cool dude, and he's so fearless. And I think that's the one thing that sometimes stops you from doing anything, and that's the thing that you get with Marty. You have fun with that, and he's like a yes man. Everything that he's given in front of him, he's like, yes. And to be able to do that on stage and play off someone like Roger as well is insanely fun. And that's what live theatre is too. Playing off what happens on stage, live every night, that buzz, that vibe. I'm super stoked to be doing that 8 times a week with this dude sitting right next to me here.
Yeah, just quickly, Colin, 8 times a week when we play Manchester for 12 weeks only before it moves on to London.
That's right, 8 times a week. We're going to be doing Sunday matinees as well. We have, from a pricing point of view, we've made sure that everyone can come and see the show. We've got tickets from £19.55. That's £19.55. So there is absolutely no reason that everybody can't come and see the show, because it is for everybody, and we want to embrace this. And it's a new show. I don't want to mention other shows like Phantom of the Opera and Lion King, but this is a new production. I worked on both of those shows. They're wonderful. But this is a new show, and so therefore, as I said, it's going to be the first time that anyone in the world will have seen this production, and it's coming right here to Manchester.
Just staying on money, actually, Chris, if I can ask, if you had £1 for every time somebody came up to you and said, "Oh, go on, do it," say, "Great Scott," would you be a rich man now?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I wouldn't be here.
He won't be here. Would you do it one more time? If I give you £1, would you do it for all of us now, a Great Scott? Would you mind? We want to hear that, right? We want to hear that? They're not too sure. Do you want to hear that or not? Okay, all right.
Great Scott!
Brilliant. Wow. Well, thank you so much to all of us on stage, all of the guests. It's just been, as you've said, Ollie, just mind-blowing and such an honor. I just want to finish off a quick line from you, Bob Gale, about why you think Back to the Future, the movies capture the imagination, as will the musical, capture the imagination of its audiences.
Well, as I say, the line that Doc Brown says at the end of Part 3, you know, your future hasn't been written yet. Your future is whatever you make it, so make it a good one. That resonates with people, and we're making this future a really good one.
Thank you. Bob Gale.